for anyone watching this, I am the least technically talented person when it comes to software and SaaS, and I'm just not even good at it. I didn't have an account on any of the stuff, starting from zero. So right when that system was implemented, there was a short, maybe 5-day period where I was getting my bearings. Once I learned it, there was an extremely linear relationship between the system being implemented and my client results just going way up.
All right, so I'm here with Kyam Calvert. If you want to just give us a little introduction about who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into like why you hired us and your experience working with us and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, sure. So for the past 3 years, I've been doing a lot of freelance copywriting, lots of different odd jobs. And about 6 months ago, I wanted to start running an actual offer that was the same for all clients as a high volume content creation offer. So I'm creating tons of original pieces of content, basically a creative agency, right? And I started realizing like managing all the deliverables and keeping them all straight, knowing what's done and what's not done, and doing all the QA and client approval, like that stuff was really piling up to an unmanageable level, like almost right off the bat. Just a few clients and you get in way over your head. So I needed something to kind of get me above water so that I could actually make decisions for the business instead of spending every single second trying to figure out some logistical problem.
Yeah, sick. Okay, so we'd actually we met what it was like probably 8 to 10 months ago, something like that. We were doing like you were recommended by a mutual contact or like one of your clients, I guess. So you've known about us for like a while. What made you specifically reach out to us for help on that problem versus like, go to Upwork or like figure it out yourself or take an ops course or take a coaching, like what was it about OpsKings specifically that made you decide, okay, like we could help you with that problem?
Yeah. So, yeah, mutual friend recommended, and I started diving into your stuff a little bit, and I just saw like your whole overarching approach to online business as a production line, which since I've spent well over a decade of my life working on various production lines, it made a lot of sense to me. That's how I think about business, especially a creative business where you have to generate something. You generate something in every business, but so that resonated with me. And then just kind of looking around into operations and systems and automation and stuff, a lot of the agencies or freelancers or whatever who do this type of stuff, they jump right into basically like Zapier or how do you automate these quick little tasks, and you guys focus more on the business operations side. Like I want to make sure that the systems I'm using in my business, all software removed from the equation, are actually robust and solid enough to handle. I want to add. Can I add 8 clients? I need to know. Like I want to know if the actual business processes can support that. So that seemed to be your guys' approach. So I just seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah, very much so. Our philosophy is like 99% of the business is never going to be automatic. Like exactly the most important thing you do, which is talking to a client and figuring out what content you should produce for them and producing that content. Like you could get cute and say, oh, I'm sure you've heard like the ChatGPT. Oh, we'll just go get the ChatGPT to like do it all. No, like, dude, that is not like, first off, like there's some 16-year-old who's figured out how to do crappy content at scale too, automatically.
Sure.
And so, yeah, so our kind of philosophy is like, you should be able to support as many clients as possible, even if you're doing everything manual, because if it requires automation to support those clients, like if the automation breaks, then you're screwed. Right, from the get-go. So
yeah, and cool. I'll tell you what, just a quick thing to add is for a creative agency, I believe that the best edge you could ever have is there's 2 possibilities. You can do a lot more quantity than the competition. You can do a lot more quality, a lot higher quality than the competition. Ideally, you would do way more quantity
and both.
Way higher quality.
At both, yeah.
So expending all of your energy, like figuring out where someone's at, you need to be able to focus in and get obsessive about the actual work, which is creating the content. So if you can do that, you have like an insane edge. So
Right, right, right.
that's what I was looking to do.
Yeah, yeah, and you before we started recording, you mentioned something like really interesting, like a surprising result that you got right after we put in our system for you. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So you guys implemented a QA system, basically an entire, I don't even know, system seems like not a sexy enough word for it, but basically a project management system, right? To where I can keep everything straight. I know who needs what. Um, it would be so much to go into the actual system, but right after that was implemented, there was a very short period of a steep learning curve for me because I just work inside the Google Docs. Like I'm not just to for anyone watching this, I am the least technically talented person when it comes to software and SaaS, and I'm just not even good at it. I didn't have an account on any of the stuff, starting from zero. So right when that system was implemented, there was a short, maybe 5-day period where I was getting my bearings. Once I learned it, there was an extremely linear relationship between the system being implemented and my client results just going way up. And it's because the system being installed allowed me to spend the vast majority of my time focusing on the actual writing instead of the docs and who's where and is this scheduled or do I need to, to meet with this client and get this straight. So that's all contained inside one thing. And 95% of my mental energy goes towards, hey, is this a good idea? Is this going to hit for this client? I can focus in on the actual the big levers, and it was extremely evident. Like if I had a graph of all my client results before and after, it would be actually insane. It would be insane looking. Like just
Yeah, and what's interesting is like if you tell me that, I'm like, oh yeah, obviously, like yeah, right, because is you only have so much like mental energy to do things, and if you're stressed out about like is this client behind or ahead or where like is this been approved or not approved, then you're kind of like yeah. What were you using? But so I forget. I mean, I'm sure you obviously you told me when we were talking originally, but what were you using before? Because actually, okay, one interesting thing is you spent almost your entire time not interacting with Tony or myself. You pretty much interacted with our team, right? Purely. So actually, I'm going to come back to the what you were using before question later, but speak to like how your experience was working with our team, because a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of businesses find it hard to. Or like I'm sure you've had this experience. You hire an agency, you hire a company, and you're passed off from the founders to like somebody else who's not the founder, right? And sometimes the experience is less than stellar. So, what was your experience working with our team?
Yeah, I've worked with dozens of agencies as a client and as a vendor, and your guys' team was absolutely head and shoulders above, night and day difference. Like once I hopped on the call with Steven for the first time, it's like so blatantly obvious that this guy knows exactly what he's doing. He was really communicative, and to be honest with you, like I'm the most nightmare client of all time. Like all I do is ask stupid questions and double verify everything, and like just because I want to make sure I'm doing my part. Steven handled all of that like an absolute gem. So yeah, the whole experience was just super pleasant. I would pop 40 messages in the chat a day and he would just knock them all down with the quickness. I mean, any little misunderstanding I had, he was quick to shoot me over a loom, just really, really top tier service. Couldn't ask for better. I felt like I got way more than my money's worth. Absolutely. So
Cool. And what were you using before as a like organizational tool? Or what did you actually, here's one thing, like was there anything you were like, because some people are, like they're using Google Sheets or Trello or ClickUp or Monday, or like there's things they've solutions they've heard about or they're considering or were considering before they hired us. So what was your understanding of ops, or like what were you using before you brought us on?
yeah, so just a quick explainer about what a typical engagement with me would look like. So if Ryan hires me to do content, I might drop you 30 pieces of content, long and short form text-based posts for Twitter or LinkedIn. somewhat like a ghostwriter, and managing that type of content at scale is really difficult. And the only way that I could keep it all straight was to use simply a Google Doc. So you'd have a huge document, and it would often grow to be, I mean, really quick. You're looking at an 80, 100-page document, like really fast. Like within the first 2 weeks, we start working together. And then I had an SOP that I would send to each client to say, hey, highlight green the approved posts. And then I had a different color. I would highlight them once I actually copied and pasted them over manually into whatever software that we're using to post, which is a whole nother, just that aspect alone, just the copying and pasting would take me like usually 1 to 3 hours a day, depending on how many clients needed that. So it was, and then so once that got to be too much, I added Trello into the mix, which actually really helped because at least now I can visualize where everybody's at. But just managing Trello obviously added another hour a day just to thinking about this stuff. So now we're at 4 hours a day of only doing admin stuff, basically. If I want to keep everybody ahead and super happy, which I do, obviously. So it was Google Docs and Trello and Slack for communication with clients, and absolutely really no automations. Everything was super manual, which is good. Like I'm glad I did it that way because I could suss out like the absolute necessities.
Right. The actual the process that is like the core, like what are you actually trying to do here? Right. Because a lot of people would like, yeah, the other mistake is you try to go like fancy too fast before you have any clients or any like, you know.
Yeah, just add and zap your automations for no reason. And I definitely didn't want that. I just wanted the admin tasks I knew needed to be done, like scheduling posts, clients approving posts, all of that needed to go away and not take 4 hours of my day. And that's definitely what happened. Like I still spend a lot of time, obviously, inside the project management system, but it's like moving at light speed compared to where I was before, which was, it's like, okay, I got to schedule posts, and now I'm like, okay, get this done, couple of clicks, move back, now jump on a call with Ryan. It's not taking my entire brain to just keep things straight before I can even dive into ideas or what's going to work.
But yeah, before you can actually start doing the normal thing that is the thing you're being paid to do, right? Yeah.
What I would for anybody that's like on the fence about joining up with OpsKings, what I would say is that before, doing about 20K a month was pretty labor intensive. Like at the 20K a month mark with a creative agency where you're doing a high volume of writing, and I'm sure this crosses over to many other industries, is at that 20K a month mark, I hated my life. It was just, I thought, I'll just mow lawns. I really don't care. I'll just give this up and I'll go work at Starbucks. Whereas now that's 18, 20K a month, like we just did 18K or, because this was basically building a new offer up from scratch. And now 18K a month, first month with the system, and it's basically coasting. Like I'm spending the majority of my day not doing content or a back-end admin stuff. I'm spending the majority of my day like doing lead gen and setting up like doing things that I was putting off for 6 months before this. And 18K a month is basically baseline now, whereas before I was really clawing to keep that, to even hit that at all. Which I think is huge. So,
yeah, you mentioned to me like you're like your revenue like would go up, and then you would like lose track of a bunch of stuff, and it was a nightmare. And then it would kind of like cycle down again. Then you had like the time to do lead gen in like the inbound, and you would go up it again, and they would come down, up and down, and up and down. Yeah. So yeah, that's super interesting. I think is all the questions that I had for you. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Kyam?
No, I would just say that if you're watching this, you're on the fence, just hire OpsKings. It's better to hire someone with a deep understanding of business operations and the tech side, which is what I was personally looking for, rather than some guy who's like, I'm a ChatGPT Zapier wizard. There's just too much of that. There's a lot of those.
There's a lot of that. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Appreciate it.